All financial advice provided on this show is for entertainment and educational purposes only. The financial ideas and strategies discussed are only provided as a starting point for a conversation about money matters. With regard to your particular investments and financial strategies, consult your financial planner, CPA, or investment professional. All your financial decisions are yours and yours alone to make, and subsequently are solely your responsibility. The information that is supplied through the context of the radio program and any repurposing of its content by the host or network is a combination and collection of solid financial investment understanding, opinion, and comments. This network, show, and its host are not liable for financial strategies, outcomes that you employ in any manner that result in any kind of loss. Shares of corporate sponsors may be the subject of buy or sell recommendations in Jay Taylor's newsletter in accordance with Jay's objective opinion.
Welcome back to Turning Hard Times into Good Times. Well, you just heard Tavi Costa and Kevin Smith of Crescat Capital explain why they are extremely bullish on small cap junior exploration stocks, especially companies that are in the hunt for major world-class gold and silver discoveries. And there's quite a few of them in Crescat's portfolio that are looking very, very good and very promising. Really happy, though, to have Dr. Quinton Hennigh, who is, of course, part of that Crescat management team, with me to tell me about one that he thinks might be especially undervalued compared to some of the others in the portfolio that Crescat holds. Thank you for joining me, Quinton.
Jay, always a pleasure.
It's really good to have you with us, and especially to spring a surprise on us. Let's cut to the chase. What is this mystery stock, the one that you think might be one of the more undervalued amongst many undervalued stocks in the Crescat Cap portfolio?
Sure. Look, you know, we at Crescat like to invest in exploration stage companies. Okay, we tend to focus on companies that have a good project, first of all, but also operating in a good jurisdiction. I like to see stories in areas that we know we can build mines. Okay, and usually you can tell right away if the project is near existing operational mines, that's a good sign. And this one is certainly one of those. Now, sometimes companies are early stage. In other words, they come to us even pre-IPO. We've invested in a number of IPO stage and taken them through to public listing and stuff. But we also see some companies that have been in exploration for a while, even a few years, who have a good project and a good team, but just needed to do some work. And you could tell they were on the cusp of making a discovery, but not quite there yet. And one of the stories that we invested in about a little over a year ago, is Brixton Metals. Okay, so we're talking about a company that's been around a while, I think 10 years or so even, but they have one of the most astounding, we'll call it exploration projects, largest and very highly prolific exploration projects in BC. It's way up in the northwestern part of BC. It's actually north of the Golden Triangle, but it's in we'll call it similar well-endowed terrain as the Golden. All right, so we're going to talk about Brixton today.
All right, Brixton, and I guess there are about there's a lot of shares there, Quinton. That's one of the things that caught my attention, 381 million shares. But of course, you've got to put that in the context of what they have or what they might have. And so I don't know, the 13 cents, somewhere around that range. I saw it recently, and in US money.
Yes,
giving it a market cap of a pretty minuscule market cap, and they have some money too. I think around $16 million or so.
Well, they do have money, and that money came in from a placement from BHP last August or September. And we were, prior to that, the biggest shareholder in the company. We actually bought share. We did a small placement with them in late 2021, I think, but we actually bought a lot of shares in the market over time as well. As they demonstrated, their projects looked like they were advancing quite well. But seeing BHP come in, that's every company's dream. They do have lots of money to go out and do a robust drill program this season. All right. And that's what we're into. We like to see these drill stage companies. All right. Yes, they have a lot of shares, Jay. You know how it works in the mining industry.
Yeah.
Companies every year, they have to fund their project. And if you look at Brixton, they made it through some of the worst years in the history of the mining industry, 2013, 14, 15, 16, we all remember it. Okay.
Right.
Keep things alive, keep things going during that time. They needed to raise money, and that's why they're in a position they are today. But it doesn't, the share count does not reflect necessarily the underlying asset value and its potential. All right. So yes, it's trading at 13 cents, pretty puny market cap, a little over 40 million US market cap. But this is a company that has a lot of value.
Yeah, and I mean, I believe they're funded for this year's work program too. So it doesn't mean they have to go out and raise money at 13 cents US now, right?
Yes, that's
No
correct.
way.
They broke the pattern that they had been in, where they would go out and do work, come back, announce results, stock would go up, and then boom, fall down during the lean months, the low news flow months in February, March, and April. It didn't. It's come off a little bit, but not like it did previously. It didn't go down to a nickel or a dime or something, and they were groveling around looking for enough money to go drill again. They have plenty of money to drill again. And that's why I want to talk about them, is because they have a huge treasury and they're about ready to embark on a pretty robust project on drill program on two, I'll call it incipient discoveries. They're clear discoveries.
Yeah, the Thorn project, that's their flagship project, I believe, right? And it's a large scale project. I mean, there's tons of different targets, but there's two in particular, I think maybe a copper gold porphyry, and then a gold target as well, right?
That's right. And, I think the best way to show it would be to just share screen if that's all right with you.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's do that. All right. Look, I went straight to their corporate presentation here. This is the corporate deck. Anybody can access it on the internet. All right. I'm going to go forward and show, first of all, share structure, share position. Yes. 181 million shares out. You can see BHP took a 19.9% stake last year by putting in quite a bit of cash. This is every company's dream to have a big backer like this. It really says that they are onto something that is of significance, that caught the attention of, the world's biggest mining company. Okay, this is huge. We are slightly behind BHP, but we've actually got close to 20% ourselves. I don't think we have a little bit of room there, but I think we're pretty darn close to 20% at the moment.
Yeah, well, you were there, Quinton, you were there first, and BHP came in after you.
That's correct. We got in starting in late 2021 and then bought a lot of shares in the early part of 2022. And then BHP came in I believe it was August or September. That's right. Yep. All right. Now I'm going to go down to show the property first of all. So a lot of people are familiar with the Golden Triangle. This is a map showing claim holdings in northwestern BC. The Golden Triangle is really down in the area to the south here. I mean, this right here, Red Mountain, Bruce Jack, you can see KSM and so forth, SK Creek. This area down in here is more traditionally thought of as the Golden Triangle. So we're actually north of that. Okay, we're up here at Brixton is a Thorn project. It's north of the Golden Triangle, but it's still in these prolific, well-endowed geologic environments that we see. A little bit younger, the intrusions here are probably Cretaceous in age. What does it mean to the average retail investor? Not much. I mean, it's still a big elephant country, looking for big deposits here. All right, so we're going to go to this Thorn project and talk about a couple of their assets. Now, one of them happens to be copper focus. That's the Camp Creek. You can see here the property scale map with all their surface sampling to date. It's got rock chip samples, soil samples, and so forth. But this project right here, Camp Creek, this guy right here, that's the one where they've drilled and they look like they're onto a major porphyry copper discovery. I'll talk more about that in a minute. Now, they have lots of other targets here. In fact, I would dare say that they'll probably test a few more of these. Like late last year, they put out some news about the Metla area, this area down here right in the center of the land holding. And that one produced some astounding results of copper, very high-grade copper, and even some high gold numbers in there as well. I wouldn't be surprised to see him drill a little bit down here as a first test as well. And then you have the Trapper target. Now, Trapper shows copper anomalism. This is immediately south of Camp Creek, but it is more of a gold project. And that's why I want to show the next slide. This image here shows gold values. So similar presentation of data. We have rock chip samples, soil samples, and silt samples, just like the previous map. But this time you can see the gold values.
Yeah.
And trapper target in particular is mainly a gold system. You know, it's interesting. You have this copper system and then a gold system right next to it.
Mhm.
But that seems to be the way this particular area works out. Now, whether they're tied together, I would argue probably not. Okay, this porphyry Camp Creek appears to be its own system, whereas the trapper target I'll talk about in a second appears to be something different. But this Camp Creek project it's taken a few years for them to make what I call the bona fide discovery. They drilled the shallow areas here over a period of maybe 10 years. I think some of the holes in this region, the first holes, go back to the 2000, I think 12, 13 period. But it wasn't until they drilled a deeper hole, and I'll show you in cross section that hole, that they made what I'll call the real discovery. Okay, so this is a plan view, mostly presented as copper equivalent. The copper is the predominant metal driving value here. All right. But here's the history. Okay, so look up at the top. You see just zillions and gazillions of little tiny shallow holes. And these were the ones that were drilled early days. In fact, most of them, they haven't even bothered to put the assays in because, they were simply hitting the anomalous top of a system at depth. But in 2019, they did drill a hole down right here, this hole 19150, that did see a long continuous interval of breccias and stuff. We'll call it leakage coming off of something bigger. Okay, now doing some, creative geology and thinking, they then came in and they put in holes over in this area. In fact, in 2021, they had an 21 meter intercept of nearly 0.5% copper. But it included, look at this, 318 meters of 0.92% copper equivalent. I would call that the discovery hole. That's the bona fide discovery. That was made roughly 10 years after the company got established. Okay, this is how long it takes sometimes to make a discovery like this. Now, you can see right away there is a high-grade porphyry system taking shape at depth here. And in this image, we're actually looking southeast. All right. I have spun this model around umpteen times. I can't tell you how many times I look at it as data has come back. And I do think that much like many porphyries in BC, that there is probably a east-northeast grain to the porphyry. In other words, porphyries here aren't necessarily perfectly cylindrical. Like, we all see in our head that these things are kind of upright cylinders with a kind of a carapace, a cap of mineralization. In this case, I think the system is actually squeezed and rotated slightly. Okay, and I think it actually trends to the east northeast. Right, and what I've understood from talking with the company is that they're going to follow up on these exciting drill holes down here, but by drilling it more along that trend this year. Okay, so I expect this year to be the year where we actually see them start to define probably some higher grade, but also define the ultimate footprint of this porphyry system. Now look at the scale down at the bottom. This is a kilometer bar down here at the bottom. Okay, just to plant in everybody's head, a kilometer by a kilometer by a kilometer cube is a billion cubic meters of rock at a density of 2.7 tons per cubic meter. 1 cubic kilometer hosts about 2.7 billion tons.
Right. Yeah. All
right. Now, is this going to be exactly a cubic kilometer? No, but I think it could be a half a cubic kilometer in size. Okay, and so what does that mean? Well, it could mean this deposit, this discovery turns into, say, a 1.3 billion ton, pretty decent grade. We'll call it 0.6, 0.7% copper equivalent deposit. Question comes: can you mine that underground? Can you? Well, yes. If you look nearby, there's a deposit to the east of this region called Red Chris. It's, if I think it's in that previous map. I'll go back up here for just a jiffy. All right, so here we are up at Brixton's up in the north, the upper left. But over here in the green, you can see Red Chris. Red Chris is a large porphyry copper gold system, belongs to Newcrest, soon to be Newmont. And yes, they're mining. They're now moving to mining the deeper part of that system as a block cave. I think you can do the same thing here, and I'm absolutely certain that BHP sees that kind of potential as well. All right, so this is one major discovery that could be we'll call it a big company kind of project.
Right.
I think it's very desirable for a company like BHP.
Right. BHP certainly wouldn't be fooling around with something unless they thought it had prospects of being massive, really.
Exactly. Okay, there's a mine in Chile called El Teniente. This reminds me a lot of that, and the grades are slightly lower, but not too far off. Okay, and El Teniente has been an absolute monster. This thing could prove to be a lot bigger. If this thing is kind of squeezed, like I said, they could end up chasing this thing over maybe a couple kilometer strike. In other words, it could be a 2 or 3 billion ton deposit. I don't know, but I do think it smells and looks like a major discovery. BHP certainly does as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's the copper story.
All right,
but I believe Quinton, they see a tremendous. I mean, not just in that particular location, but I know I'm talking to Gary Thompson last week that BHP has their eyes on some other areas to the northwest, I believe, of where this discovery is maybe part of the same system even.
Yes, the BHP is contributing a lot of brain power, we'll call it, to the team's efforts here. And yes, I do know that BHP has other targets. I didn't realize that Gary that they've talked about those before. I haven't gotten fully up to date on these myself, but I do know that they're looking at either extensions or additional systems here. It's clear from the property. I mean, let's go back to the copper. Look, there's no way that one porphyry system located right here generated all of this copper anomalies. It's just no way. Okay, there's a lot more going on here, and I'm sure that BHP looked at this. What does a major mining company want? They want a big land position. Okay, why? Because if they're going to come into a country like this, they don't want just a one-off. Like, yes, this is big, but they want a district. This is a district scale land package.
Right.
All right. So yes, I'm sure that BHP is going to point them to further targets, maybe further areas they should test.
Yeah.
All right. So with that in place, you want me to talk about the Trapper?
Yeah, please do. The Trapper is very exciting as well.
Okay, so this project is to the south or southeast of Camp Creek. And geochemically, it actually looks like there is a link between these, which is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but the system at Trapper is, by and large, it is exclusively gold mineralization. And to me, looking at the rocks they've drilled to date, it looks like what I call an alkaline gold system. It looks like the gold system is related to alkaline magmas. Yet you see it as one cohesive. Look at all this chemistry here. Look at all this sampling. It would be very unusual to say, this is not connected to the rest of this. Maybe it is. I don't know, but it is distinctly different than what you see at Camp Creek.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But it is a major discovery on its own. Now, they've really only drill tested a very small part of this system, and that's what people must understand. If you look at the scale, like if I go back here, that's 11 kilometers. Okay, and these guys have really just tested a wee small part of the Trapper target right here in the middle. What have they found to date? They've got some exceptional drill hits. Now, these drill holes happen to have both gold, high-grade gold, and longer intervals of lower-grade gold. Okay, the high-grade gold catches my attention right away because when I see numbers like this, like these numbers that you see in the blue boxes, these values are very high. And with respect to gold deposits, you often see numbers like this in alkaline gold systems, especially when when the rock looks like this right here. Okay, this is a picture of core from some of the drilling that they did recently. And you can see it's controlled by a small fracture here. This is, that's a pointer, like a pencil pointer. All right. This is a very small fracture, maybe a millimeter or two wide, and it hosts abundant coarse gold. Where else have we seen this? Tuvatu, Lion One.
I was going to say.
Exactly. It looks exactly like what you'd see at Tuvatu. So that's why my brain tends to jump in that direction. Now, in spite of that, they also have these huge intervals. Like, look here on this page, 253 meters of 1.4 grams.
Yeah.
398 at 0.95. You got 139 at 2.14, 304 at 1.19. Okay, so there's definitely a large cloud of lower grade gold that encompasses this high grade stuff. What might this lead to? I think this is a major alkaline gold system. And this, when you put everything collectively together, it reminds me of certain places around the world where you have this unusual juxtaposition of different types of world-class deposits, like copper, Camp Creek, and here we have gold. And an example of that would be New Guinea. Okay, in New Guinea, you have world-class copper deposits, think Grosberg and things like this, but you also have world-class alkaline gold deposits, like Porphyry and stuff like this. So I think these guys have a unique piece of real estate here that has the potential to host, exceptional world-class deposits of both metals. And look at this size they've drilled, Jay. This is crazy. Like this from there to there is maybe, look at the scale bar down, is maybe 400 meters along strike to date. The anomaly is 11 kilometers. Okay, they have lots of room to grow here. This is a huge, huge system.
So Quinton, I understand if it's an alkaline system, it's nothing like Snowline's intrusive system, but certainly the numbers that we're looking at, these long intersections, 253 meters, 1.4, reminds me a lot of the kind of numbers we're seeing at Snowline's.
It does. Kevin Smith makes fun of me all the time because I talk about, deposits being related to magnetism. Well, a lot of deposits are, okay? And he says, so this is really just a Snowline, right? And I'm like, well, I mean, it kind of is, but it's different in some ways too. Like Snowline, the difference is the depth that they form. In the case of Snowline probably formed down deep, quite deep, maybe 5-10 kilometers deep, in the magma chamber, in the actual source, melt that used to be down in the crust. That's the environment for Snowline. This system formed way up towards the top in what we call the epizonal or epicrustal part of the system, very shallow depth in the volcanic regime. All right. So are they really that different? Well, probably not. This is probably just a high level version of a Snowline. Think of it that way.
So the higher grade stuff closer to the surface than Snowline. What Snowline has, what looks like an economic deposit as well, but.
Oh, very much so. Yes, easily. So geological, all I'm talking about is geology.
Yeah.
Is simply a matter of depth, in my view. Like between these two systems, these are very similar, but this one formed at a shallower depth.
Very exciting. Got high grade and these long drill intercepts as well of lower grade. So.
Right. Yeah. So look, they have lots of drilling coming this year. With 16 million in the bank. And the team they've got a very good, strong technical team. I'm sure they'll be a very aggressive. They talk about drilling these two targets, Strapper and Camp Creek, and trying to expand these, but also, like seeing if Camp Creek can't grow into, like doing some big step outs, see if it can't grow into multi-billion ton kind of category. But don't forget, they have all the rest of these targets. Okay, if we go back here, let's go to the copper one. Again, Metla generated some just astounding numbers last year.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised to see them drill a hole or two here, and maybe some of these other targets they have. They have scads of targets across their property.
Yeah, because I mean, you're looking at 1%. Those darker squares, green squares, are 1%. These are really high grades, high values for surface. So.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. Very interesting indeed. Well, getting back to the Trapper, Quinton, I saw a cross section of the drills that were put in It looked to me like the geology or the geometry would be really favorable towards a low, just thinking ahead, towards potentially towards a low stripping ratio for an open pit. I don't know if you've thought about it or not. I'm sure you have.
You're correct. The dip is favorable with the topography in that area. Whether that kind of profile persists as they go along strike for
Yeah.
the kilometers that they have, that might
Yeah.
change from place to place. But right where they drilled thus far, yeah, it looks like it's a very favorable geometry.
Well, that's the focus of the company, the Thorn, those two particular targets right now. But the company has also some other projects that it's monetizing. It's got Hog Heaven.
Yes,
I think it's got a deal with somebody. I think maybe Robert Friedland's involved with that.
correct. Ivanhoe. That's in Montana.
Uh-huh.
It's a high level, we call it porphyry, high sulfidation type environment. So, it's got copper gold potential, but it's a much higher level system. And yes, Friedland Ivanhoe is earning in on that, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so they're monetizing that. I think they're getting $4.5 million or something like that to help, but as I understand that the company, the earning company has to spend something like $40 million on exploration. And I guess Brixton could be left with a 25% interest if the company continues to move, if the earn-in continues to progress.
Yes, that's correct. They would retain a residual 25% interest, and that's not a bad thing. It's always good to have a big company come in and spend money on a project like that when you've already got a pretty big project in your portfolio at Thorn. You don't want to have too many mouths to feed, especially in the market. It's tough to raise money.
Right, exactly. And Atlan Goldfields project, another one that they're monetizing. So these are little, these are positives, I think, as well. But obviously, as you say, you've got to keep focused on the main flagship project. Well, is there anything else and what we should be watching for? I guess when do you think they'll start drilling?
Look, the country up there, I would say by mid-June, late June, they should be able to get drills in. I'm sure they're already doing prep work up there. Usually crews move in late May, early June and start their work. And then by late June, almost all of the companies in the general region are drilling. And they can persist drilling until, the snow stays at bay, into mid-October even. So I think we should see a good, 4-month period out of these guys.
Good, excellent. Well, I guess we just watch for drill results as the company gets through the summer drilling season, and that's what shareholders should be focused on. But it seems to me that this is one that, well, I think the sector in general just doesn't get the attention it deserves for sure. But this is one that seems to be especially undervalued, maybe compared to some of the others. So thank you very much, Quinton, for helping us out there. All right, well, that is it, folks, for this week. Next week, I'm going to be talking to Alistair McLeod, and we're going to also have another exciting junior exploration company to reveal to you. So until then, goodbye and God's blessings to you.